So why don't you kick it off and then I'll take it next, okay?
Okay, sure. All right. Well, then, welcome everybody. I'm Adriana with my FOTech. This is the Larry Krauss Family Office Tech-NEW-logy Institute. And I will hand over to Phil because it's really his institute to introduce Jon and our panelists today. But just before I do that, I wanted to tell you that we have another program on the 11th of June. So we'll have Natasha Perl, and Natasha is here, so hello. She will interview Way to Be One and Nines. Then we're in New York on the ground. We have a cybersecurity event focusing on the tsunami of regulations concerning cybersecurity and privacy, specifically for family offices, and that's how that's coming at them from various angles. And then on 25th of July, we'll have Tanya Neild, continuing on the theme of security. She will interview Black Cloak, Abacus, and Copia Wealth, and also focus on keeping the family and family office secure. So that's clearly a trend. So anyway, and also we're working on our conference, which is in November. So just FYI, we're working on this behind the scene. Anyone who would like to get involved and help us, please do. So on that note, I'm going to hand over to Phil and to take it from there, and I'll see you maybe later.
Thank you very much, Adriana, and this collaboration has been working out really well. If you want to see all of my past programs for the Larry Krauss Family Office Tax Institute, just have to go onto myfotech.net and you will see them all. With that, I am going to introduce my friend and family office technology expert extraordinaire, Jon Carroll, who I have known through thick and thin for many years now, and I can't think of a better person to do a panel on how to future-proof your office. So with that, Jon, I'm going to give it over to you.
Well, thanks, Phil, for that introduction. And also thank you for creating the Larry Krauss Institute. I knew Larry when he worked at the AC Israel family office, and he was a really talented and thoughtful guy, and I'm glad that I did know him. And I appreciate you keeping his memory alive. I also want to thank Adriana, Alex, and my FOTech team for the fine work that they're doing, raising awareness on the issues facing family offices. And of course, offer a warm welcome to our online attendees. We're happy to have you join us today. I've been working in and with single family offices since 1994. And I know that choosing and implementing the right systems, technology, and software is, and always has been, one of the most expensive and time-consuming projects for a family office. Proving the need, benefit, and return on investment of new technology is a challenge, especially when the ultimate decision makers see the family office as a cost center instead of a business. So what should you consider when you invest in new technology, especially as you're thinking about future-proofing your office? Well, at the top of the list are financial metrics like ROI and break even, and some operational metrics like labor productivity and client satisfaction. To those, I would add business metrics like the vendor's continued business viability and innovative strength. Also, the technology's ability to grow with your business and with the market. So what's really important, of course, is knowing that your decision is the right one for the long term, for the future, and that you're not making a serious mistake. Making sure that the new technology will weather shocks and uncertainty defines future proofing, the theme for today's conversation. And according to many experts, digital transformation, which is kind of a buzz phrase now, but I think it basically means investing in new technology, is the most innovative thing that you can do to future-proof your business. So before investing in new tech, I can think of 3 risk mitigation metrics that you can use to support your decision-making. 1, measure your tech maturity with a business continuity action plan. Planning for the unexpected, prioritizing internal and external threats and how to meet them is the very first step in future-proofing. With the abundance of resources available online and from professionals, there is no reason not to have a plan that works as expected. 2, measure the vendor's ability to innovate and automate your operations and workflows. Ask for, receive, and review KPIs, key performance indicators, from the vendor on automation that they've done at other clients of similar scope and scale. So with that point in mind, I'd like to bring up the first polling question. Alex, if we may. And this polling question is about automation. And it reads, how automated are your business operations and technology? And you have 4 choices. Not automated at all, minimal automation, moderately automated, and fully automated. So if you don't mind, people watching and listening in on the webcast, please cast your vote. And while we wait for the results, let me mention a third thing that you can do to future-proof your office. You must measure your cyber readiness. According to a recent Denton's risk survey, 1 in 4 family offices, that's 1 in 4, have been attacked by cyber criminals. So there's no reason not to engage experts to help prepare and help you prevent attacks. As the seemingly unlimited power of the criminal mind and artificial intelligence plays out right in front of us in real time. In my opinion, and I fully expect that AI will become the most favored weapon of the criminals out there who want to disrupt your business, damage your reputations, and steal your money. So, Alex, if we can release the answers to the polling questions, appreciate it. Give us some context.
John, just to hop in, you actually have to answer the poll yourself to see the results, but I can see them. So
okay, well, why don't you go ahead and give them to us? I guess I'm sorry,
yes.
I didn't realize I was part of the audience.
Sorry. So we had 16 votes for moderately automated, 51.6%. And I think the audience who have voted, they can see this too. So then the second next is 9 votes for minimal automation, 30%, and 4 votes for not automated at all, 13%. And then fully automated is the least, 6.5%, only 2 votes out of our sample.
Well, thanks for that. And sorry, I wasn't aware that I needed to take the poll. I'll do that in the next question. Yeah. So kind of a normal distribution, sounds like. I didn't write down the numbers exactly, but it sounds like a normal distribution with people falling in the mid-tier with some automation of some sort, some level of automation. Is that right?
Yeah, so 50% moderately automated. Okay. And then minimal automation, 30%. And then we have not automated at all, 13% and 6.5% fully automated.
Right.
So it's kind of moderate automation.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, that provides us and the panelists, especially, with a little context. So let's explore now how two tech firms are future-proofing their clients' businesses. And I have to say, I'm delighted to be joined on this panel by senior executives from Eton Solutions and Summitas, two innovative tech firms that support family offices in very different and complementary ways. Bill Wyman is President, Family Office Services at Summitas. And Summitas is a scalable, secure, and fault-tolerant environment that provides immediate access to content from separate applications and locations. You can learn more at summitas.com. Tim Raby is Chief Technology Officer, and Phil Ayabrardi is Senior Vice President of Sales at Eton Solutions. Eton's highly automated system streamlines operations, converts data into intelligent insights, and provides actionable guidance to its clients. Learn more at eton-solutions.com. So, Bill, let's get started with a question for Summitas. Mm-hmm. Perhaps you can share with us a tech innovation that Summitas has recently implemented or that has planned for the very near term. And once you do that, can you give us an example or two of how the innovation or the automation or integration solved a problem in terms of future-proofing for your client?
Absolutely, John. And thank you for the introduction. And again, Phil and Adriana, it's a pleasure to be on this call. I've attended your sessions in the past, and they're all incredibly powerful and insightful. So thank you for this opportunity to join the group today. And I'm going to start off with answering and just going back to a couple of the comments that, John, you had made. 4 of your comments out of the 8 or so really stuck out to me and really resonates for us as an organization at Summitas. And what we try to do is aspects such as you mentioned about productivity, satisfaction, and satisfaction's that twofold. One is satisfaction is on the actual family side, the client side, as well as on the staff side. We all know how difficult it is to attract and maintain critical people within the family office. So satisfaction is important. And so having the right tools to make that happen is of critical concern to those that manage the family office. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 points are innovation and readiness. When can you be responsive to when a family member has a need? Are you ready to address it? And the important thing is the firm. How do they innovate? I like to say our first family joined us in 2011. 13 mm-hmm. years later, they're still with us today. Why? We continue to innovate and bring on new aspects that allow them to solve new problems and new issues that the family faces. So to answer your question, one of the most important aspects is to get the family engaged. And that's what we talk about at Summitas. We're an engagement platform. One example is we have this ability to put in financial dashboards where we can import metrics from, let's say, an investment accounting data aggregation kind of platform and map it into tables, charts, and graphs that are meaningful for the family office and how they want to convey information to the family members. It's streamlined, it's easy, it's immediate, and it makes them the ability for them to understand things in a way they might not have because their investment backgrounds are not extensive. So they want something that's very simple. And what happened was one of our families commented to us recently is that they have one of these investment engine type firms, and really people were not accessing the information. They implemented our Finboard, and the family office executive had shared that client engagement, having meaningful discussions with the family members on their investments, what their objectives are, what their risks are, increased dramatically because it was just a very simple way for people to gain access to the information they needed. We innovated with another family. In this family, cash is king. Family members want to go instantly and see my cash balances, my cash transactions, we could offer that out of the box. A third component that they needed was cash projections. So we partnered with them to build that. So if I'm a family member, I can go on to our family Summitas platform. As soon as I log in, I am seeing what's most important to me. So that adds to productivity because the family office doesn't have to compile this information and get it to the people. It's satisfaction because the family members know at any point in time, no matter where I am, I can get information that's meaningful to us. And then, another family, we're talking about integrations. 4 years ago, we had one integration, and now we're about a dozen or so. And we continue to add more of them because our families are dealing with more and more entities, whether it's a data warehouse, whether it is an aggregator, whatever it is. Information is coming from different sources, even CSV files. And how can you bring it in so that there is transparency, there's collaboration, there's a way to get information to the family members so they know exactly what's going on. And this one family, they had a bill pay and accounting technology platform. They evaluated the user experience and they didn't think it was ideal. So what they did was they loved the back office aspects of this platform, but they needed something to make it more user-friendly for the family. So we have built bi-directional integrations with this bill pay and accounting group where a family member can, for example, take a photo of an invoice with her iPhone, drag and drop it into a form, hit submit. The accounting people at the family office get it. They can then migrate this information to the bill pay accounting group. Everything gets done, and then it migrates back so the family member can know that it has indeed been paid. Those are some of the practical aspects, but some of it goes beyond it. You talk about lifestyle, making things simpler, solving problems. Many of our families own sports franchises. Many of our families have seasons tickets. And how do you manage that process? So one family, they had one person, her job was to do this manually through emails. It was a mess. We automated the process, including we can integrate with MLB.com to download all the schedule for, let's say, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Cardinals, whatever it is. So now the family has ready access that I can see who's going to tonight's game, who's using them. At last minute, John, you can't make the game. I can post them on there so the tickets aren't wasted. We can monitor who's using the tickets. I need a parking pass. So integrations go, yes, on the financial side, but Summitas is also dealing with financials to make things simpler for the family to do what they need to do on a day-to-day basis. Another example is foundations. Families have foundations, and what's an easy way for an outsider to request a grant request to the family foundation? We have this capability to have a family customize how they want to pull the information, get the information, including attachments and EIN numbers and everything you need. They can actually have a link on the Family Foundation website. So you could go to Carroll Foundation, click on request a grant, fill all the information, submit it, and then the Family Foundation board through their Summitas platform can get all the responses that are out there, compile them, approve them, request more information, deny them, everything that you need to do to make things easier. So I am dealing with seasons tickets. I'm looking at financial information, the foundation. All these things can be incorporated, encapsulated through Summitas, again, for this one point of contact, for this one point to get things done. Another recent innovation is task management. Things fall through the cracks. You don't want that to happen. Whether it is planning the family reunion, whether it is reviewing a trust, whether it is planning a foundation gala, all these different things can now be done through Summitas, through task management. And this brings, and again, it's another reason why Summitas is an engagement platform. I'm not going into Summitas once a year to get access to a statement. I'm going on once a day, once a week. Things are happening. Someone's posting a picture, someone's posting a video. I want to see who's going to the game tonight, who's using the family vacation property. All these things come to place within Summitas. So there is this one stop for people to access the information they need to. Should I move on to the future, John? Those were just some of the examples that we have recently done. I have more, but those are just some of the recent ones that came to mind.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, spend a minute or two talking about what's the blueprint, what's the roadmap, what's coming next. Love to hear it.
A couple ones come to mind. One is meetings. It is our version of video conferencing, the ability to provide the sharing of screens, chat, collaborative whiteboards, so that within Summitas, some family members don't have, let's say, a Zoom account or something on that nature. They can now come within Summitas and set up anytime they want to with anybody they need to a meeting. And then they can pull up from our digital vault the performance statement, the account statement, the tax return, and all within the secure confines of Summitas, because we've talked about future-proofing, we've talked about security, having this all come within this one platform. So I am collaborating. I'm actually getting real-time information, having a video, and being confident that the security Summitas has implemented will now extend to this kind of a session where it is bringing into play financial information on a screen, whiteboard, saving that information, chats, and then engaging the family and making sure that everybody has access to the information they need. Another one is, everybody's talking about it, AI. So we are finalizing our AI for Summitas. Quite a few applications. One is very simple. For example, we have a 150, 200-page trust agreement or whatever document it happens to be, using AI to then summarize that into a 1 or 2 paragraph document where I can really quickly search and get an idea of what it is. So think about this being the Cliff Notes. I don't even know if they have Cliff Notes anymore, but the Cliff Notes of documents within the digital vault. So that's one application. And it was interesting, John, last week I had a call with a family and I was sharing, this is what we're doing with AI. This is going to be the value proposition. And the family member said, it would be great that, if we're posting in your personal vault our medical records, could AI take a look at different information about diagnoses or anything else to see maybe a family member has an issue that they don't realize because there's a history with other family members. So tying this all in together, and we thought, wow, that's a great idea. And then we pass that on to our development team, and they're the ones going to say, oh, yes, we can do that. And I know my time is up, and I will finalize with the comment of, that's the secret sauce of Summitas. Listening to our clients, listening to our user community to say, what are their real life case studies, use cases, pain points that we need to address, partnering with them, utilizing the tools of Summitas to deliver this engagement platform for the family and the family office. And that's, hope I answered those questions for you, John.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bill. That was awesome. The breadth and the depth of your response, but also the scope of Summitas is pretty incredible. And sounds like you do everything pretty much for the clients except for...
We do a lot. It's a lot of fun.
Maybe pick up the dry cleaning.
Not yet.
All right. Well, look, thank you for that. And I guess, Phil, sort of the same question to you. About Eton Solutions and maybe give us a sense of some of the innovative practices that implemented as you meet the needs of your clients or elements or components of the technology platform, and some examples of how those innovative practices or new technology components have solve that future-proofing concern for families.
Yeah, no, absolutely, John. And first, Bill, congratulations to you and the Summitas team. Bill's always been one of the true gentlemen in our space and a really good partner. We're always looking for that mutual partner to work together. Thank you, Phil. Looking at that client experience is the right place to approach this. So when I think of our approach future proofing, it really goes back a couple years, and the foundational work. And John, you alluded to some of this, right? Our decision to go with cloud native architecture and to partner with Microsoft in their Azure environment, and to have each client housed in Microsoft Azure in a secure way, really laid the groundwork for a lot of our future proofing, so that we can leverage tools like ChatGPT. We can leverage OpenAI as a partner with Microsoft, that we can leverage tools like Power BI for business intelligence. It really started to pave the path for us. So making that move a few years ago was really critical for us. Then foundationally, as much as we like to think we're the all-in-one solution, there are things that we just don't do, right? We don't do trading, so we have to be able to connect through with an OMS. People might want deep analytics with Bloomberg or Kaisa or something like that. We need to be able to have an open architecture where we can also plug into what a client's existing architecture is. Summitas, really great example, right? If people want to leverage the collaboration tools in Summitas, but they need, the power and the performance and all the data that we house within our system and documents and other things like that, we need to be able to plug in. So one thing we did was we modularized the system to allow for that, and we built out a whole series of APIs and integrations to make it easier for data to get into our system and to self-service and push data out of our system or pull data out of our system. Even to the point now, there's things that we do today that some of our other vendors in the space do, and example is we have a couple clients using Adapar, right? And they love what they've done with Adapar. They put a lot of effort into implementing Adapar, and they don't touch it, right? We have it where we want it, but we have to shore up the accounting side of our office. We have to shore up partnership accounting. We need a way to be able to pay bills, and we've been able to integrate with other vendors in that nature. So creating that open architecture has been very important. Now I think as we kind of look forward, everything is really geared towards artificial intelligence, and I really feel like we've started to become a leader in this space. So as a partner of Microsoft in leveraging ChatGPT and OpenAI, we have branded Eton GPT.
Oh,
so the ability to leverage these tools within a secure environment is critical. So we have that right now, that we're in some beta testing with clients. And the way that we think about it is really eliminating those low value kind of first mile tasks like invoice entry. And John, you well know this, right? The OCR in the past, it just really wasn't good enough. It wasn't reliable enough. When you have unstructured data, it really needs to be in a structured format. But now, with the AI, if you take the AI capabilities with the business processing capabilities that we have within our product Atlas 5, bookkeepers can then bring this data in, ingest it into the system. The AI can recognize payor, payee, understand and learn the document, propose the transaction in our system, and really take away a lot of that hands to the keyboard and present it to the accountant. Here's the document, here's the invoice, here's the transaction process. So tremendous operational leverage that can provide to them. Bill alluded to the document intelligence. So, we store documents in our system. To be able to ingest an invoice or ingest a will or ingest a capital call notice and have the AI recognize what that document is and identify it, and then again kick off that business process, huge time savings, right? And the ability to summarize those documents. And I certainly relate to Bill's comment. I was talking to a single family office a couple months ago, and everyone's trying to find these use cases. They're trying to leverage artificial intelligence. How can we use it? What are we doing? But it is scary when people are trying to put a estate plan or a will out there in ChatGPT, right? To do it in a secure environment, which is what we've solved for, to leverage the data that they have in Atlas 5 and not expose it to the outside world, but be able to leverage data from the outside world is really the key for us in what we're doing. So, we've been able to work within the environment, train the technology, train the AI with the customer's data. Also, I think, I look back to all the efforts that we have put in and our other vendors have put in with creating screens and dashboards. And dashboards are really important for those, as Bill was mentioning, those quick, important things that you want to see every day. And our clients have done tremendous things leveraging Power BI as a reporting business intelligence tool in our system. Game-changing dashboards. But as we look towards the future in usability of the system, using that natural language interface, so creating prompts that just say, what's the questions I want to ask the system, is really part of the direction that we're going. So, it takes out a little bit of that. Do I need to know how to create a report? Do I need to know how to create a dashboard? Or can I just ask the system what I want? So, things like, help summarize, Mr. Smith's asset allocation for me, write an investment report for Mr. Smith. Help me analyze Mr. Smith's performance versus the S&P 500. And I want to see it in a dashboard view and have the system actually generate that output. Those are the things that we're testing through Eton GPT right now, and really game changing. And it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of training to get the AI working, but it's really impressive in how fast this is moving and what the possibilities are in this space. So our clients are all asking about it. Everybody in this type of setting is all asking about it. And it's an important part for choosing your vendor and understanding how they're going to provide this for you ongoing. And John, as you well know, in a vendor selection type of situation, that has to be one of the questions that you're asking.
So I'm glad you brought that up and you culminated your remarks on artificial intelligence and its impact on your business and the way that your clients use your platform and thinking about the future, similar to what Bill said. And I guess I have a follow-up question for each of you then. With regard to artificial intelligence and just how quickly it's moving, and I think we understand how dangerous it can be too. I mean, you mentioned put the trust agreement out on the, in Chat GPT, that could be a problem. What sort of a stance do you take towards privacy and confidentiality of your client information when you're using AI for purposes internal or even for presentation to the clients? And let me start with you, Phil, and then I'll ask Bill to give his thought too.
Yeah, sure. And I can have Tim jump in as well. But first and foremost, everything's through a secure connection, right? Dual factor authentication. Microsoft Azure gives us all that, cybersecurity, disaster recovery, business continuity that it can afford us. When we talk about our client-facing portal, we're leveraging that secure connection so they, it keeps them out of email, right? To be able to connect with the family members to the family office or multifamily office, to be able to interact in a secure way and share documents back and forth and initiate workflows and approve workflows through a secure connection. That's what we're trying to teach family offices. It's not always easy to adopt for folks that are used to maybe being in email, but I know in my history, and our clients are targets. And when I was at Fidelity, probably 90% of the fraud attempts that I saw come through were through email, right? And if we can keep and teach people to stay out of email, work through secure connections, dual factor authentication, that's part of our job to keep their data safe. I don't know, Tim, if you would add to anything on that.
Let me add a bit of detail on the AI side specifically. I mean, obviously, part of it is education, but obviously the rules for security and privacy apply to all technology, and AI is no different to anything else. So certainly a lot of the answer lies in the detail of the implementation of Eton GPT versus what OpenAI does in the general market. And that's a longer conversation, but ultimately we have gone to great lengths to architect Eton GPT to follow the rules of GDPR, for example, from a privacy perspective. So we believe that our solution is fully compliant with GDPR. We are ISO 27701 compliant, and we've been through that process for our AI products specifically. So, I mean, the rules for security apply to all technologies, and AI is no different to anything else. And so do the rules of privacy. So we're very confident in the way that we've architected our solution. And just, I'll give you one clear example. For example, Atlas 5, our product, is a single tenant solution. Customers don't share the platform. Each customer gets its own instance. That's also true of Eton GPT. The AI solution is single tenant. There's no connection from one tenant to the other. There's a separate integration, and we leverage the Microsoft version of the OpenAI product, which comes with the full Azure integration. So we inherit all of the Microsoft work on security as a starting point. So those are the two key tenets of our position on this. But we have started from the very starting point with all of those fears in mind. So it's kind of two parts to it. One is the devil's in the detail of how you architect it, and the second thing is really it's about educating the users upon the risks in using it, because obviously there's an issue of trust. If it gives an answer, is the answer correct? The answer, and the truth is that we're used to a binary world. This is not a binary world. The AI world gives grey answers, and you have to understand that it may be wrong. So that's an education process, right?
Yeah, that's a huge problem, isn't it? Isn't it actually that it can produce an answer that if you're uneducated or unsophisticated, you may think,
correct.
Pretty good answer. That's a pretty good answer.
And I think that's the whole point, is people are used to using technology in a certain way, and we have to relearn some of that. And we are taking on board that challenge as ours, because if we want people to use it properly, they have to understand the advantages and indeed the disadvantages.
Thanks for that, Tim. And Bill, I'll give you a minute to kick in a thought on that topic around privacy.
Well, everything that Phil and Tim indicated related to the secure connections. We use AWS, GDPR, being very thoughtful with all that, because Summitas has always been at its core about security, and that started off back in 2007 when it was hatched as an idea, all the way 17 plus years later. The only additional aspect that I want to share with you, a little bit of a nuance for us, which I'm sure it exists for Eton, but at least for us, is the whole notion of rights and permissions. And what can you do? What can you see? And that's critical to Summitas. So there are going to be aspects where we might have an AI application, but it's reserved to, let's say, these 5 individuals, and it's configurable so that you can set it up. Can this person do this? Can this person access this information? And when there's a summary that's putting together for a document, it's in a folder that's only accessible by John and Phil. Tim's not entitled to it, so he's not even going to see it. So, Summitas has a lot of granularity related to those aspects of things, which then will apply to these new innovations. And because it's configurable, there might be a family just says, we don't want it. We understand what you've done. We understand you've thought it through, and it's, this is the aspect of it, but we're not ready to do that. And that's okay. That's a key driver for Summitas. It's configurable to say the Iardi family wants these applications, the Carroll family wants these, the Rabbi family wants these. That's okay. And each one can have the tools necessary to meet their needs.
Thanks, Bill, for that. And thanks, guys, for increasing my knowledge about the use of innovative practices and approaches in your businesses as you support your clients, future-proofing their businesses. So I think it'd be helpful now to have a question from the poll or the polling question. Alex, if you could drop the next polling question, because I'd really like to see if from the audience, if anyone has taken the leap recently to implement new technology. And this time I'm going to vote. so that we can see the answers as they come up, I believe. And it looks like half and half, kind of a split. Well, so whether you're investing or not in new tech, you have to prepare for, and I think you have to, listening to our experts just now, you have to prepare for, you have to expect a cyber attack. I think, was it Phil? Was it Tim? I can't remember which said, oh, it was Phil from his days at Fidelity. Yeah. Most attacks come through email, and eliminate email, and you eliminate a conduit for the attack. And referring to that same Denton's family office risk survey that was just published last week, actually, identified, 7 out of 10 of the respondents to the survey identified cyber crime as their number one concern. And so I think it's a real threat, obviously, and we've got to be, prepared for it. So let me ask you, Phil and Tim, maybe start with Tim, how your tech is innovating and responding to the increased threats from the cyber criminals. I know you touched on it a little bit before, but love to hear how you have dealt with any specific instances where there's an example of an attack that Eton Solutions was able to ward off. And I know that so much of the success that cyber criminals have relates to the human element, right? People click that link, people provide information that they don't mean to do to people that they don't know who they're talking to. But from a sort of a technical standpoint, maybe there are some lessons that we can learn from Eton Solutions and how you guys have innovated your approach to repelling cybercrime.
Yes, thanks, John. Yeah, in fact, you mentioned earlier that a stat that said that 1 out of 4 family offices had been a victim of a cyber attack. My assertion would be is those are the ones that knew they'd been attacked. I suspect that there may well be a bigger percentage, because in a lot of cases it goes unseen for a long time and then disappears, but doesn't mean it hasn't happened. So, 1 in 4 is probably a low call from my experience. So let's talk about that. Like you said, there are 2 different ways that attacks broadly happen. One is email and other sort of messaging is the first sort of category. That's the first. You have to sort of get in somehow, right? So the first way of getting in is getting through someone's messaging platform is by far the prime way. The second way, which is less likely but still happens, is using some known vulnerability like a 0-day flaw in a piece of software or some network flaw that's known. And we receive thousands of different types of attempt to attack our platforms every day of that variety.
Really?
Literally thousands. Yeah. They're probing attacks. They're just people out there just trying things without necessarily knowing what we do. They can get more targeted, but ultimately, some of them could be just people out looking, but ultimately, some of these will be serious people who are trying to attack us. You can't tell, but ultimately, yes, I mean thousands, not tens. But they very rarely get through. The most risky one is, as we discussed before, is email by percentage. So let's talk about that. So let me give you an example of a real attack I've seen in a family office. Email-borne spear phishing attack. Email received by a office member. They unfortunately had MFA set up, but unfortunately the attack got the username and password via the phishing attack. They were able to trick them to entering their MFA. Their MFA was set up badly. and access to the mailbox was gained. So the next thing is, what do people want to try and do? And Phil alluded to it. Wire fraud is the highest value attack in the family office business. The second attack is a ransom of some variety, either by theft or by encryption. But those are the two broad monetization approaches once some kind of access has been gained. So in this particular example, they set up the classic, they set up redirects, they set up mailbox rules to hide their activities. The external party sent multiple emails, very sophisticated copies of requests to transfer money to the right people in the family office. The family office members had no idea that this was a broken mailbox. The most interesting thing is that in this particular instance, they received a phone call from a family member from the correct phone number, so a spoof phone number. The person on the phone did a very, very good voice impression of the family member, and got to the point where the money was about to be transferred, and just almost by luck effect, or I would say that's a very diligent office member, noticed that this was an unusual payment on the last. So in our system, we have a workflow-based system. So this was a relatively high-value payment. So it went to another approval stage, and someone said, "Hang on, this is very unusual. Let's just go and double-check this." So they phoned another family member, and absolutely completely bogus, and that would have been a very, very big transaction. Luckily, it was caught. So this was an example of a targeted attack using different media, by phone and email, and all based upon an initial single phishing email that someone unfortunately foolishly clicked upon and was conned into entering MFA because their MFA was set up poorly. So that's a real example. I've got a lot of other examples that I can take you through. Almost all do start with some form of email and some kind of human error, one way or another. Either an IT person not doing their job and putting the protection in place, or a user just clicking on something that was bad. However, I would say that a lot of these scenarios are very difficult. The worst ones I've ever seen is where a senior family member's mailbox has been breached externally. So it's very common in a family office world, but more so in a multi-family office than a single family office, but where the family members are using external email, which you've got no control over whatsoever. And so, those mailboxes are the most common to get broken because they don't have the enterprise level security, which I assume and hope that all the family offices do have on their mail platform. So these are things that are outside of Eton's control. In all cases, actually, we don't operate the email platforms for our customers. What we do though, is inside our platform, we ensure that all documents are communicated within our platform. We have a messaging platform internally so that we make sure that the family office to the family member communication of all documents and key communications is contained. But we can't force people to use that, unfortunately. But we do provide that capability, and those that use it get a much better level of defense. What I would also go and say, and this is a key message to everybody out there, and I'm sure Bill agrees with this, one of the weak vectors is your vendor, right? So one of the questions one should ask is, what does your vendor do to go and protect you from their employees? Because Eton staff are also victim to these phishing attacks every day, many of them every day. And so, the kind of innovation that we have internally is significant. So we have a completely locked down system. There's two parts to it, the identity management, so the zero trust principles, and then the least privilege principles. So the assumption is that you try and keep people out, but on the assertion there's a chance they might get in, then you need to go and protect ourselves from our own staff on the assertion that their account has been compromised. So we put up a massive defense, and we make sure that if it's broken through, you can do very little. So those are the two principles. So we are very aggressive internally. So as Phil will know, life is, people don't like me much because actually the compromise between security and accessibility is a playoff, right? So I'll give you an example. Our staff aren't allowed to send attachments to people externally. You can't send an Excel sheet to somebody in a different company. Just not allowed.
No.
We played around with complicated digital loss protection platforms that looked at the content of the email of the attachments, and unfortunately, people were able to find ways around that. So we just cut it off. Just can't do it. You could only share documents using secure shares or via our Atlas V platform.
So in other words, Phil can't send me a spreadsheet.
No.
The only way that we can communicate is through
he can send you a link to a secure share.
To a shared
secure share, yeah. And he'll have to give you permission to access that share.
Yeah.
Yep. Or we do it using the Atlas V platform with our customers. So another example is that Phil can't log in from any other computer than the one I give him and the one that I completely control. No access from anywhere. If he loses his laptop, I have to get him a new one. Bit of a pain, but that's the way it works now.
And you can wipe that laptop if he does lose it?
I know where it is every second. I can wipe it if it appears somewhere else quickly. I know, and I'll kill it straight away. So we have so there's two types of device. Ones that I can have complete control over, I trust, and he can use. All the other devices in the world he can't use. And so that's
a lot of control, Tim. And I hope somebody's got control over it. Yeah.
And people don't like me for it, but unfortunately, that's the way it has to be today. Now, obviously,
contest.
Obviously, our customers don't have that issue because obviously we don't control their systems. But that's what we do internally to look after our customers, to protect them against our staff.
Thank you so much for that. That's very, very interesting, and appreciate your sharing. So, Bill, same to you.
Sure. It's interesting, the comment about the number who expect a cyber attack. I would say that generally families think that it won't happen to us. And because of that perspective, let's say family members aren't as concerned. So what they're looking for is a partner who is taking on that responsibility, and that's us. Our families and clients trust us to put in place an environment that is as secure as they want. They rely on us, and we've been vetted by Fortune 100 companies, major wealth management firms, consultants, and we have passed every review. So we get to the point where they can say, okay, we can trust you to put on things such as account statements, wills, trusts, prenuptial agreements, you name it. And its core, we continually evaluate our security. We all know about the upcoming challenges with security, and it's always changing. And as we like to say, the bad guys are getting smarter and more clever. So we have to be even better and even more clever than the bad guys out there. And how do we do that? Well, there's standard things that you can do, which we do. We monitor our security scorecard, for example. It's an industry standard. Ours is above 95. I think we're about 97, 98. So, that's a basic thing where independent people come and assess Summitas, that we can share that, yes, we are taking everything about Summitas seriously. Another one is independent assessments. Not only is AWS SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, but Summitas is. And it is rare for firms in our industry to make that huge effort to become SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. We are. So we treat security seriously. We have independent companies come in to evaluate our security, find out where there are areas we can improve, and then put together in place a report so that our families can feel better sleeping at night knowing that this information is protected. Another nuance of Summitas is the same team. We've been around since 2007, as I mentioned. The same team that initially built Summitas, everything from our CTO and a couple other key architects and developers, they're still with us as well 17 years later. It's rare to have that type of a core team still with the firm. Obviously, we're growing. We have new people on the team as well. But that core team knows everything about Summitas. And when there is something that's coming around, they know how to make enhancements to Summitas to make sure it is always at that highest level of security. For example, encryption, at rest in transit. Our digital vault applies a salted, key-stretched, advanced encryption standard. Let's say it's 256-bit block ciphers. Salted encryption means semi-random bits are added to a user's passphrase to make them harder to guess. Key stretch increases the time level between potential hacks, making brute force trial and error impractical to get access to the information. The threats are all around us. Picking up on Tim's comment about share, we built a very sophisticated but easy to use share component within Summitas to keep families away from using non-secure email to send security attachments. And a lot of them say, well, we password protected it. Well, unless that information is encrypted, that really doesn't mean a lot. And then we implemented share based on, the realities of what we need to do because it's a reality. John, you're applying for a local bank loan. You've got to get an account statement from a secure digital vault to your banker. How can you do that? And you can do it integrated within Summitas and keeping those same protections. But then we added some nuances. For example, maybe you're sending something extra sensitive, a will, a trust, prenuptial agreement. You can actually, through our program, disengage the access point to the passphrase so that, John, you need to call me or text me with that passphrase to, again, add an extra layer of security. So with Summitas, we are configuring it in a way that how secure does the family want things to be? Everybody has to utilize multi-factor authentication to access it. We can have other types of controls in place to make sure it is as secure as you want it. And the rights and privileges, which I've already talked about, are also a critical component of what we do. So the threats are all around. We work diligently to make sure that the information is safe, secure, protected, accessible by only those intended parties. But more importantly, when you think about security in your car, you could leave your car unlocked with the keys in the ignition. You can put it in the garage. You can put it in the garage with a padlock. You can put it in the garage with a padlock with a guard in front of that. All these things can come into play to protect that. Summitas does that in a very practical standpoint, but as is our hallmark, still makes it easy for people to use it. So if you put too many hurdles in front of somebody to protect information, they're going to find ways to get around it. They're going to find ways to not utilize the secure features. So one of our key aspects is, yes, it's ultimately incredibly secure, but we've put in place a user interface that encourages people to use it and not be afraid of the security, so that we can help families reduce their risk of security, cyber threats by using a platform such as Summitas.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And really, I appreciate the contributions of our panelists today, Tim, Phil, Bill, all you guys. A really interesting conversation. Thank you very, very much. For those of you who want to learn more about Summitas or Eton Solutions, and in fact, I wish there was somebody out there who would like to work with both of these firms together.
Be great.
Because I think we need that client. We need that use case. I encourage you to reach out to Bill and to Phil and to Tim. And of course, the team at my FOTech, Adriana and Alex and the others will be happy to support you in your knowledge. So that's our session for today, and thank you very much.
Thank you, John. There was a couple of comments actually, just to draw your attention in chat about deepfakes making these challenges worse.
Sure. Yeah.
I can respond on that one. It's kind of interesting. I mean, if you go and look it up, there's a very interesting thing that came out in the news not long ago, where one of the biggest wire frauds recently of $25 million was stolen in Hong Kong using a deepfake video where the bad guys did basically video calls emulating senior staff members of the company, and got the bill pay staff to online go make the payments. using deepfake video. It's been done already. It's just taking the voice call threat one step further, and it's very real. And one of the biggest issues that we have now is that the AI world helps everybody. And you can just literally go and ask ChatGPT to tell you how to go and do cyber attacks. It's leveling the ground out there to make it easier, and it's making it easier for the really bad guys to get better. So absolutely, it's the whole poacher gamekeeper problem is that AI is working well for both sides, and absolutely deepfake video is one of the scariest prospects for which we have. It's very difficult to brief people on how to deal with that. If your boss comes on the video and tells you to do something, what do you do?
Yep. Thank you, Tim. We have a little bit of echo. Phil, I'm going to try and mute. No. Yes, I think it was you. Phil, can you unmute yourself when you'd like to wrap up? But just the other comment was with AI applications in technology, to ask where than if you're using it, right? So I guess that's becoming an expectation. Phil, there's a little bit of echo, so why don't you wrap up?
So I want to thank everyone. I thought this was an amazing program. Jon, thank you so much. Bill, Tim, and Phil, that scared the hell out of me. I think that's why we see banks being so secure in terms of getting information using their website in some way, shape, or form. Yet people still are sending emails with information. I just have one question. When invoices come from vendors, okay, many times that's not secure either, and the information for the vendor's bank is right on where the wire transfer is.
Yep.
So maybe Tim, you could just comment on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I mean, if you look out there, I mean, there's some great real examples of this where simply getting a PDF and changing the account number and then setting the PDF on is the attack vector, right? It's so easy. So what we do in our processes is, and the automation helps here, we always validate the information on the invoice against other information gained some other way. So we don't trust the invoice that we receive in the bill pay process. We always check it, and then we go through a workflow process to have it signed off by the appropriate customer representative, and often that has multiple approvers based upon the value. So absolutely, yeah, that is one of the scariest. It's so easy just to change a PDF these days, and an account number and a routing number is all you need.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very good. I think third-party vendors, okay, are the biggest, let's call it, risk in some way, shape, or form, because you're so comfortable with what's gone on in the past. That is really something that I heard Bill and Tim and Phil say, that's what they're watching for. They're going to make sure that when a bill comes in and it's paid, it's verified and protected when it goes out. So I want to thank everyone for listening. I thought this is a great program. I'm looking for the recording. Thank you, everyone. Adriana, I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all. Pleasure.
Happy Memorial Day weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.